Good evening, welcome back to the Student StarCraft AI tournament. Once again, I am an extremist, but the games have been good this week. And although not all their people have been online, as we will see in this game and many others, yeah, there we go, here goes the game. To start off, at first, the ELO rating is still being dominated by Mr. Locutus. 2,512, that's quite a feat, and I don't know what the IC Cup formula is, but if you are 2,000 points above Crazio, more than 2,500 points, you are doing pretty well. So pretty much dominating today is the Cutest, Ironbot, still 50 points, more than 50 points below Crazio, and then Purple Wave is working hard. Cherry Pie without updates since forever, Banana Brain working hard, doing well, and rocking the boat. Oh, sorry, there it goes again. And then the rest of the pack. So let's see how that is happening. And the first game was one of the two recommendations I received. It must be that all those people who normally recommend games are on holiday. That's a bit of a shame. But we'll cast those games, of course. It's my pleasure. So we see here Purple Wave, which is doing extremely well again. And even without major updates for quite some time. It's going to face Locutus, and Locutus, well, what can you say with an ELO like that? The outcome of this game seems to be a given, but we'll see if it will be so this game. And oh, that's pretty nice. Goon Micro and camping the high ground. Same thing's happening here, 2 Zealots and a Goon and 2 Goons, but then again, yeah, there we go. As soon as we get back, the same number of Goons can be found by Locutus, so looks to be a mirror matchup, although Locutus is going for Goon range. And what is Purple Wave going to do? Purple Wave is going for a little bit of cheese. A couple of DTs of one base, not super fast, but is going to work. And the Goons of Locutus have the field, but they take a lot of damage from these DTs. And will there be more DTs? I don't know. At least there are 2 cannons, 2 Goons, 3 Goons, and some DTs in the rear. And you have to be pretty curiously inclined to like a couple of cloaked blades up your rear, and that is exactly what's happening here. So you can see that the natural for Purple Wave is building these 3 DTs. They come to the rescue every time, and they carve up whatever Purple Wave is throwing at them. So Purple Wave is not really as happy as it could be. But in the meanwhile has built an observatory, not as fast as it could have done. Had these DTs ran through to the main base, they could have won the game. But they were busy defending versus the Goon rush. So that's not too shabby. But in the meanwhile, the natural for Purple Wave is up. Purple Wave bought itself a lot of time to get ahead into this game. And the question is, will there be an observer in time? There is one here. The DTs are butchering Goons over here, but the observer isn't really... oh well, there are a couple of cannons, so it should be okay, but might do better with the observer in the battlefield, but you never know. So there you go. Locutus stuck on one base, and of course Purple Wave doing excellently. Even High Templar are ready, or at least one is, and there is no storm, so that's a bit of a... Oh, and finally the observer has been found, has been sent for, and now the DTs have to pack it up, and this Goon is in a rather precarious position. But it's surely Purple Wave cannot mean to push the issue here with the high ground and the godly Goon Micro of Locutus. But still forces being rowed up to the front, and we've got an Archon here. So although Purple Wave got ahead, I dare say that this follow-up is less than optimal. A lot of forces wasted and just being ferried over one at a time. Third about to be started, I think, and Locutus immediately as the army exits the walls with the observer plants the natural. And what could Purple Wave have done? Well, Purple Wave could not have suicided a lot of units, and even this Archon versus the Goons of Locutus is just going to poof. And well, we'll try to keep that to a minimum. But you can see now that with the observer and Purple Wave's units not fighting, and if they are suiciding, this game will be over pretty quickly. Of course, there are still 2 cannons and the Archon, but I dare say that's a huge waste of money to build an Archon and just not even get 2 hits off. That's the 2nd Archon dying in vain. And Locutus has got the natural not even up and running and is still winning the game based on Goon Micro. That's absolutely insane. Purple Wave could have microed better, but all in all, the decision making to feed units one at a time into these goons of Locutus's, that's really where it goes wrong, and should have had a third up and running for a long time now, having had map control forever. But instead of that, Locutus is beating Purple Wave round the house with a couple of goons. A couple of them are getting pretty badly damaged. And with the bridges and attacking and retreating, Locutus has got a little bit of an issue. But the third base is planted down now for Purple Wave. More Archons coming up, and I think that it was Dan himself who wrote to me and said, well, yes, you got to spend your gas on something. Well, you do, but if you just throw away the Archons after that, it's not going to work, is it? And as soon as the goons die, these Archons, they will just poof, and the game will be pretty much over. Locutus with the very aggressive third. This base is going to be only a little bit faster, and the goons of Locutus are suffering because of the superior economy of Purple Wave. Purple Wave got 70 versus 40 workers, and although the natural's up and running, oh dear, yeah, there you go. So now all the Archons are dead, and this Dark Templar is going to suicide. So you can see the problem unfolding before your eyes. Purple Wave's micro is not good enough. Its decision making is, well, not able to do Locutus sufficient harm, and Locutus is just, it's trampling the field with its goons. You can see any zealot will get caught. Perhaps now there will be enough, but the worker transfer coming in the way. These goons in the rear, Locutus suffering a little bit too, but now Purple Wave will have to breach these bridges, but with the zealots in among the goons, Purple Wave is pushing Locutus back to the wall. Locutus with the fourth already, so that's good. Same can be said here, but these units, oh, with the defensive cannons, Locutus just has enough, and now all the zealots and, oh, the zealots are still there, the Archons are gone. And is there Storm? There isn't Storm, there is another Archon, and if you can pin the goons with the back to the wall, that's going to work like this, but otherwise it's going to be pretty painful. And Locutus still microing hard with the goons. This Archon though has got a lot of shields, kills one of the cannons, should be replaced immediately, and still Locutus is hanging on, but the army outside of his walls is growing, although the goon production coming. Locutus gathering steam now with 3 bases, 4th operational, 4 bases for Purple Wave, and now it will all be down to composition and of course upgrades. So +1 is done for Locutus, no other upgrades brewing, that's strange. And tech-wise, neither player's got Storm or is trying to do anything fancy. No Reavers, just going to be a full blast gateway battle. Defensive cannons really paying off for Locutus, and Purple Wave just can't make it happen with all these gateway units. I feel there should be more emphasis on harassment. These bases, if you've got the enemy pinned down, just send a couple of Templar and you are golden. A couple of Zealots would have done the trick as well. Just shut this base down. Main is mined out. Natural isn't getting low because the Cutest was so very, very late. But if you're just going to grind your gateway armies into the choke behind the bridges, it's going to be very painful. And Purple Wave now starting +1 as well. But tech-wise, both players are rather limited, and Locutus now feeling the pressure. The goons can't micro so well as in the open field, and I feel it was doing much better in the open. Now, Purple Wave, have you got any tricks up your sleeve, or just going to go all out? Here we go, nothing spectacular, just gateway units, and trying to do as much damage as you can, but these goons from the high ground with the defensive cannons are negating all the advantages that Purple Wave has. And Purple Wave, what advantage do you have? Because you are not harassing the bases, the base count is even at this point, and your natural is going to run out faster. Storm, though, is nearly done, and with a couple of good storms, perhaps the Observer might get caught, and the Cutest might have to struggle. But the Cutest now breaking out beyond the bridges, and there is no Templar in sight yet, so that's going to be an issue. This Zealot is going on a mission though, so that's good, but I really feel that Purple Wave's decision making is inferior to that of Locutus, and Locutus starting a 5th base because Locutus feels it's running out. It's got nothing, it hasn't got the map control, but Where is that Dark... Oh, it's morphed into an Archon again. Surely not. Okay, here's a Dark Templar, a High Templar, and a couple of good Storms are direly needed, because these goons are really... And you can see this army movement. Units wander off on their own, they get killed for nothing. This goon fires off 2-3 shots and then dies. Archon morphing in the middle of harm's way, and that's just not good. Massive damage to shields done already. And where is that High Templar? If you've got Storm, bloody hell. Should be over here. A couple of good Storms, perhaps a good flank, because the Cutest can dodge like the best of them. And the Cutest taking more bases. So macro-wise, the Cutest appears to have it in the bag. And Purple Wave just can't get it done. Building... Well, the Cutest hasn't got all the right upgrades either. That's strange. Could have... Because it's got so much money. So much income, 75 versus 76 workers, that's not the world, but Locutus is now hammering at this base, which Purple Wave could have done ages ago, could have taken out this and that base when Purple Wave's army was still pressuring the natural of Locutus. Unfortunately for Purple Wave, it didn't do so, and Locutus getting away after being put behind with being a little bit surprised by the Dark Templars. And now rolling up base left and right. You can see it's 100 versus virtually 0 army. And this High Templar, I didn't see it cast a single storm, so that's unfortunate. And Purple Wave forgot to expand again, because this natural was taken, now finding this base over here. But it's just not going to work. Locutus ravaging this game, going to be the GG. And I'm going to hop into the next game. Which will be... I think we'll start with this one. It's Flash versus Proto Egbert, and a nice PvP is always something. Didn't I cast it last week? I had Proto's Egbert again last week, so should be careful with that, but Flash versus Proto's Egbert is going to be all about the micro. And we saw last game with 2 top Protoss that micro and decision making can and will win or lose the game. Now Flash starting out with the 2-gate, same thing can be said for Proto Egbert, and still this goose chase of the scouting probe is going on. Scouting probe of Proto Egbert returning, that's good, and worker wise this is exactly a mirror which will be seen. That's going to be a 3rd gateway, and the 3rd gateway is warping in here as well. So here comes the tug of war. We've got 4 versus 4. Proto Egbert is running, taking a lot of damage, but the 5th Zealot is coming round the bend, and now it's 4 versus 2, but with a couple of damaged Zealots at the side of Proto Egbert. So we'll keep an eye on this. Flash going for the Assimilator and the Cyber Core, so we'll have goons, and if Proto's Egbert keeps throwing Zealots like this, and that's still one of the hardest things to do. When do you fight and when do you retreat? Where do you attack? Where do you attack in a battle with Zealot versus Zealot with it just going to be an A move into the enemy base? But right now there is gas in the camp of Flash, and you can see that there are a lot of pylons, and the first goon is hitting the map. So scouting still going on. Another gateway. Wow, that's a lot of gateways for Proto's Egbert, and perhaps might be thinking about taking a natural, but these Zealots of Egbert are really a little bit running, and this probe doing a nice amount of damage. I'd say Flash has got the upper hand, but now Proto's Egbert just had that, but here come the goons, and with 3 goons, the balance of power is going to shift right quickly, and oh, goon range as well. Is there anything here? Just no gas, nothing. And ooh, the Zealots really doing their work. They die a lot, but then again they are holding the ground, and it would be nice to build some goons behind this. But right now you can see in the production tab it's all going to be about units. Units, 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 and with 6 goons you can kite a huge amount of Zealots. And you can see here the Zealots paying the price, getting damaged, losing shields, and ultimately laying down their lives. There are more Zealots coming up though for Flash, and I don't know what that is. And here comes another gateway. So worker wise they are pretty much even. Problem though is that Flash is going to rule the world, or rule the map with these goons, just doing a lot of damage, Proto Egbert making a lot of units, but it's all Zealots, and you can see with 6 goons towering behind those Zealots of flashes, the damage potential is humongous. And they've got range, and now it's all going to be about Zealots. No natural from either player, and well, I dare say Proto Egbert might get something done, but doesn't really appear to be working. And now the natural being put down by Flash. Flash is going for the kill with the goons, camping the one side of the bridges, and Proto Egbert not really managing to cross the bridges again. And I think this is going to be the game, because the army disparity is now 2-1. Some probes are coming out, perhaps the scout, perhaps to help him defend, but I can't see this going anywhere for dear Mr. Egbert. Natural up and running, third started for Flash, and there you go. Here is how you win a game. Just go goons where the enemy's sticking to Zealots, and Egbert must be getting low, but I think before it will be mined out, these goons will have reached the ramps, although a lot of Zealots are being built. You can apparently power 5 gateways. Wow, 4 at the time you can power. And behind this, Flash is sitting back, building starports, building goons, Zealots, and now the goon core has breached the perimeter of Egbert, and Egbert hasn't got a snowball's chance in hell. We've got 2 starports, must be another one, might be even going for a carrier play. Wow, that's pretty impressive. Might even take another base, building some gateways at other bases. That is a nice trick. So Flash, although it's no longer being actively updated, has got some good potential, as shown by the build order. Very strong early game play, then going into carriers. And that, I think, was that. That's the game. GG, Egbert biting the dust. And another couple of bots which received an upgrade last week were Eric Hammer and Sparks. So Eric Hammer hasn't had an update in 1.5–2 years, I believe, so that was pretty good. He used to be number 2 behind Iron for a long time. It had a build order which could counter Iron for a bit, but then Iron regained its footing and smacked the hell out of everyone again. And of course now Iron's only at number 3, but hasn't seen an update in 2 years either, or a year, I don't know. Well, must be able to find that out. Yellow rating. Ironbot last update was 2017. Okay, so it's not as bad as it all seems, but just before the grand finals. But that's 3/4 of a year almost, so that's quite a long time. And Eric Hammer is going to have to work hard to stop this monster Terran, which Iron still is. Scouting probe is, yeah, now it's going to be dead. And Iron is going to stay on one base for a long time, playing safe. And the defending that Iron has had to learn has really impeded its aggressiveness. These 2 vultures, although they do kill... Ooh, they might just have had this depot, but now with the tank on the high ground, Iron looks to be in a good position. 3 bases up for Eric Hammer, might take a little bit more while it's got the map. And Iron really ought to take the map more with these vultures, lay some mines, do some scouting, do some harassing, and letting the Zerg run away with a game like this might be tantamount to a recipe for disaster. Iron with the tanks though in control of the game, and oh dear, this Marine is really rather brave and now rather dead. But Eric Hammer is now also working on the drone count. It's 31 already versus 24, and with 3 versus 1 base, it's going to be hard for Iron to do something about that. Eric Hammer with an army supply of 3, and that is really beyond me. Oh, appears to be going for some lurk attack. And I don't know if that's the wisest decisions, because although Iron hasn't got scans, it has got tanks, and lurkers are a hard unit to use. Are they going to be dropped though? Is that the thing which is going to happen? We've got Overlord speed, we haven't got Ventral Sacks, the transporting. Oh, it's going to cliff the high ground with an Overlord. That is pretty sweet. And that's a neat trick which I haven't seen anyone do ever. Just use a flying unit to gain vision of the high ground and just pester Sparks a little bit. Oh, it's Sparks, not Ironbot at all, what am I blubbering on about? In my defense, I might say that I am a little bit under the weather, but then again, at my age, that's normal and to be expected. Oh, now we've got a scan, but there is no tank in range, so that's not going to work, obviously. And Eric Hammer taking 2 more bases, because why not? Meanwhile, just building up the army, and of course, where it was 3 earlier, it's now about 30. So doing well in that regard. Might do with a small drop, that would be pretty gosu. Just fly around the back, drop 2 lurkers here, kill the comms hat, and Bob's your uncle. But of course that's pretty hard to do. And now the Hydras are leading the charge versus the siege tanks on the high ground. And it pretty much looks like the Battle of Balaclava or Rorke's Drift. And then again, you all know how both these battles ended differently, so I'm not giving anything away. Oh, and now we've got 3 muters, and have we got any anti-air? No, we haven't. We haven't even got a single... We haven't even got a single marine. That's pretty brutal. Is there a... Oh dear, oh dear. Sparks really blocking itself in and not getting anything done. And sorry about blabbing away about Iron, but... it looks like Eric Hammer is in some kind of a shape. It's not as aggressive as, say, TCMU Cherry Pie or Proxy, but it's good to see it receiving an update. And, well, Sparks, what are you going to do? Because you're going to have to move out somehow. And as long as this barrack stays down, it's not going to work. So Eric Hammer is happy as a clam in a shell with 50 versus 20 workers. And might do something about this, losing a lot of workers here. No turrets, no marines, no Goliaths, nothing. Oh, and this damage is insane. And now the Mutacloud is growing, and I don't know why it's so bad in killing stuff. The Mutacloud can hardly kill a couple of... Oh, there we go. So now it's out of control. And all the workers die, so might do okay, just could kill the tanks, and Sparks really... Okay, so I am now down to 3 workers, and Eric Hammer taking... No, that's Overlord scouting. Eric Hammer taking its sweet time in demolishing the enemy base, now going for the charge to mutas kill all the tanks, and once the tanks are dead, I think this battle is over, but of course this is over. So, sorry, congratulations Eric Hammer, and Sparks, too bad. Now, Brian Weber also received an update and said to me in stream that the Muta Micro was improved significantly from none to terrible. Might be paraphrasing, don't know the exact wordings, but that was what it boiled down to. And Mad Mix Terran, of course, is going to play Terran. And we'll see how it's going to fare versus Brian Weber. Brian Weber, not the most potent Zerg, but can pack a punch if left alone for too long. And here you see the Zerglings, which go the wrong way. And now we'll hit the enemy base. And the enemy hasn't got a... Oh, well, there is an army, but it's mostly in this bunker over here, which means losing the natural and then holding the main. And then exiting the base and getting overrun by the Zerglings. So that's... All in all, it's not the best game plan, and Brian Weber has now got the natural up and running. 3rd started, work account, pretty terrible. Looks like Garnbot in that respect. And Mad Mix is going for more marines, but the fighting micro is just so bad. And with the repair just in the nick of time is going to make things work, but has got quite a number of barracks, and I think with a couple of medics might work wonders. Is there stim? There is no stim yet. And these Zerglings take a hell of a lot of fire. They could just run by. A couple of bots do that, namely Iron is doing a run by, and the Cutest might work wonders here as well. Oh, and now the bunker is completely overrun. There is a fire bat though, and the Zerglings don't even want to fight it. They're just going to die. And I think with a medic and a couple of fire bats, you should be okay. That's a lot of barracks. Brian Weber though has got 3 bases, mining-ish, work account a little bit less terrible, but still could be significantly better. And now, I think that Brian Weber lacks a couple of hatcheries. Oh, a small poke by, oh dear, oh dear. That's just A-moving. And things that A-move through a field of Zerglings are likely to croak. No, croak. What is it? Croak, die, crack. Likely to die. These marines fire a couple of shots, but all very half-heartedly, and they will die. So, too sad. Now, more Sunkens being built, and not another base, so both players sitting back, taking their sweet time. The bunker is about to be built and demolished as well, and really could do with a fire bat. And is there stim now? Yes, one stimmed fire bat, an SCV cohort, and some medics. Save the day for now for medics. But Brian Webber is not. Oh, is going to build another. That's a lot of Sunkens. I don't know if that's worth it. But Brian Webber going for the 20 workers, and combat micro of Mad Mix is just not there. It's really this Marine strolling off on its own. And we saw that in my purple wave too, so it's not a shame, but it's really a bit of a loss. And just moving troops about is going to get them killed eventually. And this is a brave place to build a natural if your own naturals overrun. And the units are just, the fire bats are doing okay, but the grouping of Mad Mix is not good enough. Meanwhile, Brian Webber has got 25 workers and a hell of a lot of Sunkens. For what reason, I cannot imagine. Going for a 4th base, and really the pace is rather slow. The Zergling numbers are ever increasing, but with the occasional fire bat, and oh dear, well, Mad Mix has got quite an army. Might be working okay, and that is, yes, there you go. The drone sees it and thinks, well, nah, not going to bother. And oh, that was the fire bass, I'm sure. There is going to be no worker transfer. Oh, a couple of workers will be built, so that's good. Now Brian Webber is still on 34 SCVs, and the Zerglings are gathering up again. Have they got any upgrades? Yes, the speed, but no Evo chamber. So, oh, and a couple of hatches. So, oh, and another spine. No, spine, sunken. And finally, more hatches being built. So, still a lot of workers, and, oh, fat round of drones. Lings galore, and the units of Mad Mix are still on a move. That's really incredible. This base sort of up and running. Here goes another drone for, I think, not to found another base because it's going to be coming back. And will we have any army out of Brian Webber, or will this bunch of badly micro... Oh, here come the Zerglings from the rear with the gear. And these fire bats are really burning them all up. That's really crazy. Now Webber going for some more. So having built more drones and having gained more income, there is a lot of money and really could do with more hatches. If you're only going to build lings, lings are pretty cheap, so you need a large number of hatches. Mad Mix, meanwhile, just sticking to its old trade, just going for barracks, and, well, the academy's still there, but just going to build units till the base is mined out, and Brian Webber rolling in the lings by the bucket load. This fire bat, I really... Oh, now it dies, but I don't have a kill screen anyway where I can see how many kills the unit's got. And now going to die, and Webber just ferrying in more and more Zerglings, taking more bases relatively slowly. Oh, this base got dismantled somewhere, and Mad Mix has got another command center. But meanwhile, the main base looks like this, the production tab looks like that for Brian Webber. Oh, we are going to see some mutas, probably. And more drones. You're never going to have not enough drones. Enough drones don't make sense today, sorry. No upgrades, oh, overlord speed, but no evo chambers at all. More bases taken. Lings all over the place. They are scouting this beautiful scouting algorithm. It's beautiful. Will we have any mutas as well? Oh, we'll have one. That's good. And now the Zerglings find it, and you can see them all filtering right through the base, killing the SCV first. And the unit composition is 107 Zerglings, 1 muta, and that was the game. So, GG. Next game update by Halpan, based on Ironbot. And I thought, well, if it is, it's a little bit like a vaccine. It's Ironbot, but hasn't got the full potential, and perhaps if you can learn to beat Halpan, you can do better for Ironbot, but Halpan at this point is just a weakened version of Iron with some quirks of its own. Looks like, I don't know. And Martin Rogue's Leaderbot, we are still waiting for the final version, but by now we've been promised it for years and years, so I'm not going to get my hopes up. I think Martin is really busy with his new job, has graduated after all these years working on Google AI, and Haupan going for another bunker, because in TVT there is nothing more important than a bunker to back up your bunker just inside of melee range in case fire bats do decide to attack. Now, Leaderbot going for what looks to be a small push, but its pathfinding is god-awful. So the tanks are staying behind for some reason. Oh no, one's coming, two are staying behind. And neither player's got a natural yet. So there we go, this vulture of Haupan's being set on by the entire expeditionary force of Leaderbot. A couple of tanks stay at home. Oh, finally the natural by Haupan. And, well, two bunkers, a lot of marines. Flying eBay, that's always nice to have. Leaderbot delaying the natural even still. That's really brave. Oh, we've got a Wraith. Pew pew. One Wraith, two tanks. Must be a good YouTube video, or at least it would be if... Oh, it's going to after a vulture, that's good. It would be a good video if the brute war thing were still as big as it was. Oh, and let's, finally kill the SCV, which is going to delay matters a little bit more for Leaderbot, and of course the natural has been up and running for Haupan, so Haupan taking a little bit of a lead, and the Wraith just pressed cloak and is doing respectively, just damaging all the units just a tiny little bit, and oh dear my lord, is there going to be a scan? Doesn't look like it, because there is no academy. So Leaderbot falling apart at the seams, two tanks of Haupans holding up the enemy, and oh dear, just so much tanks are being lost to just two randomly siege tanks by Haupan. Now Leaderbot bring a little bit more force to the fight and is rolling up Haupan. That said, Haupan is in a little bit of trouble as well. Oh, there is one starport, so one Wraith is going to take care of this tank eventually. And as well as it does, because, oh dear, there are two Wraiths over here as well, and oh, there are Goliaths, but there is no Comsat, so this one SCV is doing a lot of damage, and the same thing can be said for this one over here. Two SCVs over there trying to stop the contain, and looks to be working, because there are no SCVs to repair, and I think eventually these Wraiths will just micro this tank down. Very well done, boys. So two tanks of Haupan in the rear, and I think with the worker disparity as it is, with this Wraith still over here, Leaderbot really falling up. Oh, there is even a Valkyrie now to provide some backup in case these factories spontaneously decide to try and build a Wraith. But these Wraiths are doing a world of damage. And although Leaderbot's here with two siege tanks and about to range the bunker again, and perhaps might even kill it, because these SCVs are in range as well. Haupan's got a couple of siege tanks as well. It's got a lot of money. So that really doesn't appear to be working. But these Wraiths, we've got two over here, or two over there. I think those are going to seal the deal, because Leaderbot's not even got 20 workers left. Oh, and is breaching the natural. That's pretty well done. GG, sir. Problem though is that all the Goliaths are there. There are some tanks on the high ground, which is good, with SCVs for repair, and there are going to be more Wraiths, I believe, or perhaps not, or I don't know. But this push of Leaderbots is cut short. The natural has stopped mining, and the Wraiths are flipping out. I know they've got cloak. I see it over here. They could cloak and just kill the Goliaths, but they are not doing so for not very obvious reasons. But the mining at the natural shut down, the mining at the main isn't what it used to be, and more Wraiths are being sent in all the time. So you can see where this is going. What puzzles me is that this game is still only about halfway done. So are we going to see the total destruction of this base by the Wraiths? There we go, here goes the main base. Haupan now with 54 army supply, and it's neglecting to kill the floating barracks over here. And the Wraiths, they do see it. But they do nothing about it. And Elitebot is at 5 minerals, no workers, no army. Just got a floating barracks. And Halpan in taking iron for to make a bot out of is not really... has seemed to have wrecked it a little bit. Isn't even building army anymore, so let me call the GG and get the game on. We've got Toothpick Cactus versus Ice. And Toothpick Cactus got another update, and I thought, well, why not Ice? Perhaps it's just now good enough to take on good old Ice Labs. Starting with a barracks, which most bots are likely to do. Ice Lab going for the quick gas, and then make something of a wall, which is something which is very helpful, especially against Locutus. Locutus is now, because of Crazio's inability to wall, abusing the hell out of the latter. So here we go. Small army on the ramp. Ice going for the quick expansion, and that is why Ice is so dangerous. It is very difficult to cheese, and if you do behind the cheese, it will use the high ground, in which it's still unique. No other bot does it, and I've been saying that for 4 years, but I can still say it, and I think either that or the wild goose chase is going to last the longest. Now this Wraith is doing gobs of damage to one tank, and then to the other, and with 2 SUVs and a couple of Wraiths. So Ice now, push was stopped by the valiant defense of Toothpick. Toothpick's got the natural up of its own, hasn't got a wall, has got a few workers less, but has got the 3rd base operational now. That's good. And Ice is from the time where it was not considered good manner to take all the bases all at once. Just finish the 2 you've got, and then you can perhaps think about taking another one. And also, if it detects any air unit, it will assume that the enemy is either the Berkeley Overmind or Ximp, and it will go way overboard on Goliath. So perhaps with that, the tanks are the tanks. Apparently there are no tanks in Cactus's army either, but Cactus will macro its heart out. Poor Vulture not going to be a part of the festivities as we speak. Let's look at the upgrades. Both players upgrading and getting all kinds of cool tricks. Toothpick getting Cloak as well. And Ice, yeah, what can you do? Got the 3rd up, but I think... there you go. Deconstructing the tank. And now with the turret, Ice is doing okay if it had a little bit more than 11 army supply. And still it's building tanks again, so that's good. Toothpick Cactus, however, has got a great army and also got lots of high tech. Now going to claim some terrain. And you can see we've got a factory over here, we've got some stuff over there, and that's what I like, because if your main gets sacked in the wild-based trade scenario, you would still have one factory and you could make tanks. And that would be a lot better than to have to restart from scratch again. But now Toothpick is laying siege to Ice, and Ice, although it's got a floating building, there are wraiths overhead, and right now I feel that the economic disadvantage is getting too big. And what earlier players like Purple Wave couldn't do, Toothpick can. It can lay siege to the bridges and in a... wow, kill the 3rd as well. So now it's really rather the map versus 2 bases of Ice. Main base getting a little bit low, and Toothpick isn't really playing spectacularly. It doesn't ring a bell as, wow, this is the next Terran Prodigy, but the relative speed and ease in which it has come to the scene and has grown so good as to, without very much effort it looks like, put a lot of pressure on Icebot. That is really something that we should be well, happy for, because the speed of development in Broodway Ice is growing all the time, and you can see this nice distribution everywhere. There are factories, and macro is much more important than it used to be. Ice still on 2 bases, couldn't protect the 3rd, and by now there is a veritable forest of siege tanks out there, And unfortunately, they haven't really got a plan how to deal with 2 siege tanks. But everything that is coming out of the base... Oh, that was a friendly fire shot. Pretty well done. That is a lot of tanks. Wow. Toothpick going for more SCVs. No, not really. That's very few SCVs. That's 50 SCVs actually. That's not an awful lot. Very nicely and evenly distributed, and now tearing into the main base. So that's the GG. Next game up, it's going to be Eric Hammer versus Simon Prince, and where the first game versus Sparks, well, Spark was a little bit stuck on 2 bases and not really, or 1 base really. I think that Simon Prince, with the good timing attack and the better macro, is going to prove more of a challenge to Eric Hammer. Eric Hammer, though, is taking a really aggressive stance, handful of Zerglings, very few workers, but already 3 bases, and if you've got 3 bases, you've got the enemy contained, you can build a couple of drones and then macro up, and while the enemy is running over to your side of the map, you can build all kinds of cool defensive stuff like Sunkens and workers. Workers should build more workers, and Lings and combat units, so doing okay. Simon Prince walling in, oh dear, I hope it doesn't get stuck on that. 1 worker, and has got quite a number of Marines. So Marine-wise doing okay, and you can see now it's not supply block, but is, I think, oh, the building SCV just sneaks out to be able to build an academy. That's good. And the Marines have got things well under control, a bunker for good measure, and a couple of workers more for Eric Hammer, but still the drone count is pretty low. That's 4 drones, which you don't need if the enemy is over here, but then again, if this bio-marine medic push starts rolling, it's pretty nice to have these, yeah, these Sunkens ready, and more bases taken by Eric Hammer. Oh, and here comes the push. And here is where it's going to be dangerous for Eric Hammer, because this push hasn't got any medics, so it's not as strong as it could be. The medics are still over here, God knows why. There is 1 tank, but the medics and a couple of Hydras are over there, and I think that, oh, even with a couple of rallies on move command, these Sunkens can do pretty well. 1 or 2 might die, that's a pity, but these Marines will not break the wall. And now the army is coming back, and these medics will perhaps die as well, so that's very unfortunate, because although Simon Prince got this natural up and running, Eric Hammer has now got 5 bases, and although the worker count's still a bit low, at 33 it's rather respectable, and there is a huge army out there already. But with 2 siege tanks and the bunker and the stim and the medics, there is stim, of course. No, there is no stim. Wow, that's rabbit. This Zerg army will have to fight very hard to break this, but in the long run, no, it's an Overlord. And the Overlord can't really do too much with the base, can't claim it. Now that's a nice touch. Just 1 Sunken at every base, just for good measure. It's going to help a lot versus all kinds of random stuff happening. And now Eric Hammer hasn't got an army. It's got 9 army supply for some reason. And the question is, where is it spending its army? Oh, it's building army, but I don't know that Hydras at this point. Have they got any upgrades? They've got speed and range and nearly +1 armor, but they are just not going to cut it versus siege tanks and stimmed infantry. Is, yeah, well, +1 and range are done, +2's already started, and this Terran army will be very dangerous to Zerg. And, well, this Lurker, I think, didn't kill anything. Tank with a science vessel overhead. Eric Hammer is under a lot of pressure. There are no more Hydras, and this stimmed army is just going to make such short work of these Sunkens. More Sunkens needed, and you can see where this is going. All the colonies are being scraped, and Simon Prince got 100 army supply, while Eric Hammer has got 10, including a queen, 1 lurk, 2 lurkers, and 15 zerglings. So that is also a way to throw your advantage, just not build an army, and what you have just wasted. Prince taking a 3rd base, not rushing things, nothing precipitate. And wow, that is such a lot of army. Simon Prince, the hard-hitting Terran, hasn't got the best micro or macro, but it's very, very solid. And once you've got this in your natural choke or now in your main base, I think it's going to be over pretty quickly. It's 7 versus 137 army supply. And now the Marine front with the tanks for support, the Science versus overhead. Yes, you can have a Defiler mount, but if you haven't got a single drone, it's obviously not going to work. So let's see how the other pineapple is faring, or the cactus is faring, I should say, because we've got Toothpick Cactus and Pineapple Cactus. Toothpick Cactus had a little bit of work to do, but was good enough to beat ice, which is pretty good. And I shouldn't rush this too much, because, oh dear, Chason Gook's Marines are on the blink. And meanwhile, oh, there they come. That was a bit silly. Natural up and running for Pineapple, and Pineapple is much better with the workers, like, oh dear, this Marine business of Chason Gook is really awful. And last game we had Eric Hammer on very few combat units and drones, and I think that Pineapple Cactus is not making that mistake again, but perhaps it's making another mistake, and that is not building any Sunkens. Oh, now going for the Lurkers, because if a handful of Marines with medics show up at your natural and there isn't a single Sunken in sight, it's going to be pretty painful. Now, 3 Lurkers are going to burrow in this spot of the map for reasons. Now are proceeding and retreating all the way. And now there are Sunken, so reactive Sunken, so Pineapple Cactus also appears to be pretty diligent. Lurker Micro might be a little bit better. Chason Gook taking another base in an interesting location, and because of the barracks I can't really see how much energy there is in this comsat. But the real problem is that, again, there is a bot with 0 army. Is there any in production? Yes, 1 vulture. So that is a good recipe to lose any game, just not build any army, and if you do, just make it a hodgepodge of 1 vulture, a couple of SCVs, 1 wraith, and just leave the lurkers outside, and wow, like we saw versus ice, attack the main base and harass the natural as well. There is a wraith overhead, and this third is a little bit late, but so far I think that I like the way where Pineapple Cactus is moving. And that scan, of course, did no good, because with 1 vulture you can scan the lurkers, but just know where the lurkers are, don't scan them, and keep your scan for future use. It's no rocket science, really. So, 3rd base about to be taken again by Pineapple Cactus, and I don't know why that is. And the Air Force is going to make sure this Wraith thing is not going to work very hard at destroying Zerg. So again, Zerg army on the prowl, and Chason Gook refuses to build any army at all. Has got quite some money, but is not really building all that much, and what it's building is running straight into these 2 lurkers. And that's, well, that's a valid play, just... That's an expensive way of fighting a war. So, Pineapple Cactus with the hammer. The hammer is roaming the map, but can't really make up its mind where it's going to hit. Meanwhile, taking more and more bases. No, those are overlords. And the scouting for Pineapple Cactus is quite decent as well. So, in that regard, things are pretty good. And if only the army could be a little bit more decisive, but perhaps this time. No, oh, that's a Cloak Wraith. Is running straight through. Scouting for Pineapple is okay as well. And that's a lot of units, but what the hell are you going to do with that? More bases taken, more hatches being built. Oh, that's a Queen's Nest. Sorry, this must be another hatch. And finally, yes, there is the army, but what is it going to do? Hit that base, and that will be over pretty quickly, because right now it's 80 versus 10 army supply. Oh, 12, sorry. Oh, now 10 again. But Chason Gook is playing... I do remember it playing a little bit better than this. Perhaps the learning got in the way of its efficiency. And Pineapple Cactus is doing, well, all the things it needed. So... what have we got? We've got the penultimate game for today, and that is Servant Class Whopper versus Proxy. And Proxy is a Zerg which, oh sorry, I shouldn't speed it because I want to show you where it is. ELO rating, it's not in the top 10, where is it? It's about 20 of all the bots, which is not bad, but it has got quite a peculiar style, and if it doesn't really work, it can be quite hard to make the match last very long. So, natural taken for Proxy. Whopper going for the barracks. 2 Marines just for good measure to prevent any kind of wild shenanigans. And then going to build some factories. Now with a bunker, with a couple of thingies, SCV for repair, good position, and now what is going to happen? Because Proxy's got an in-base hatchery, which is good, because as a Zerg, even on 2 bases, you're going to need at least 1 extra hatchery to make drones and combat units, and then your growing curve will increase markedly. Or get... well, the slope will be better. So Whopper now also going for the natural, and at this point, Zerg hasn't got anything done, has just wasted a lot of army. Are there any upgrades? Yes, but tech's in Terran's favor. And now, only now, the 3rd base for Zerg started. Worker-wise, Zerg doing okay. Worker lead, or pretty much even, because, well, 30 versus 28 won't really hold that in the favor of Proxy. And Whopper's got tanks with siege. So Whopper taking it slow, just sitting back on 2 bases. A couple of SCVs for repair over here, that's quite a lot. And Proxy going for another base. So Proxy now 36 workers, really balancing workers and fighting forces, but the emphasis right now seems to be on infrastructure, drones and tech. And there you go, worker transfer. Whopper taking an awful long time, and the problem is for Proxy that Whopper is, when its army is ready, it's going to make one huge hard-hitting push right down the middle. And as this is the top of us, it's a very simple map. You've got this, these dominions over here at the bottom. It's really rather small, and if you've got the middle contained, it's very easy to kill all the expansions. But Proxy, now 66, 67, 70 versus 40 workers. Proxy is really gathering steam. These bases aren't really mining that fast, but upgrades are coming. Tech isn't there yet, but the production tab is growing ever stronger. And although the army size with 7.5 might look small, and it is very small indeed, Proxy slowly taking all the base. For the time being content with just containing the enemy with 2 Hydras and a horse head. Now this is what, if you've got a contain up, you should prevent at all costs, because if you've got the Terran with 2 bases, it's a whole different story compared to a Terran on 3 bases. And Hydras should not be fighting mines in full view of 6 siege tanks already. So Proxy losing quite a bit of army, but then again taking more bases. And Whopper has got this base over here, and it's going to sneak another SCV out. No, it's not going to. And Proxy is burning through units like a madman. Oh, and now the mines are gone, so now it might be possible to hit 1 tank every once in a while. Whopper's only got the +1 armor started, has got a 2 base economy, can't do all that much. Worker transfer isn't really... well, it's drawing attention to a mining operation which would have been hidden. But then again, you might then break out of your natural, which a handful of Goliaths is doing. Another base right in the backyard of Whopper is being taken, and Proxy with now 84 workers, hive tech on the way, upgrades all over the place. Production tab looks like this. This is madness. That's a lot of units, and +1 air attack is coming in as well. Then again, Whopper as a Terran, what can you do? Build a couple of turrets. Tanks are very good. But there are no Goliaths, and Goliaths are quite handy if there are a lot of mutas containing your base. And that is a lot of mutas. And a lot more mutas and zerglings and drones are coming. So Proxy right now is satisfied with the number of drones it's got. It's going to be all about upgrading, oh, and taking this one base while Whopper's been shifted from it. And, oh, we've got a battlecruiser, so that's all, it's a very heroic unit, but this is a lot of mutas. And the mutas are plain ignoring the battlecruiser, because why not? And the battlecruiser and the 2 Goliaths and the bunker are killing a fair number of mutas. The mutas are killing everything rather slowly, but you can see where this is going, can't you? Because the main is getting low and there is a muta overhead. The natural is, well, very highly saturated, but it's in a precarious position. The bunker and the wraiths are firing for what they can, but right now there are just too many Zerg units, and I wonder why this base has not been taken, but that's a detail. So, you can see the work is being perfectly balanced, distributed between all the bases, and Whopper suffering damage all over the place. The tank's doing okay, the battlecruiser doing fantastically because it's not really being set on too much by these mutas. But Proxy doesn't really give a damn and is going to build units, and as soon as these tanks die, the Lings will reach them, and then it will be pretty painful. This battlecruiser will be microed down eventually, one tank on the high ground, Goliath. Whopper is sort of holding on. These army supplies are about even. Proxy with a small deficit actually, but now will be overtaking Whopper quickly. 2 battlecruisers, and these mutas don't want to have anything to do with battlecruisers. Might be a quirk in the combat simulator that they respect battlecruisers too much. Oh, and Proxy now taking the last base, so yeah, that's good. Mutas all over, and Proxy has now got more than double the army supply. There is 1 battlecruiser still. The tanks are blasting away for all they're worth, but it's just too much. The production tabs can be summarized like this: a buttload for Proxy, and Whopper hasn't got 1 base mining properly. Oh well, it's got this base is still mining properly, but it's not really going to for very much longer. And the last battlecruiser is dead. So now the mutas will have free reign, but these marines will have killed a glorious amount of mutas. That's really, really cracky. Oh dear, oh dear, these mutas are taking so much damage. The Lings are dying left, right and center. But in the end, Terran cannot hold, because the main has only got 2 patches left. The natural still got 8, but the bunker falls, the tanks fall, and now it's 10 versus the map, and the map looks like it's bent on producing some hybrids for good measure. Plus 3 weapons done for Whopper, but in the end it's not going to be enough. So let's see, Mr. Proxy, how you're going to fare versus the ultimate end boss. I like to end a broadcast with a match between the number 1 and 2, but until Crazio starts doing any kind of walling, it's just going to be an abusive victory by Locutus. And well, if the enemy doesn't build a wall and you can just run by or do a proxy, why wouldn't you? So Locutus going for a forge first, after which it is going for a lot of drones and 1 cannon and a nexus. So that's about as aggressive eco as you can get. The scouting probes got things well under control, and we'll also see a couple of eggs, and now we'll see the Zergans as well. So right now there's a lot of time to look at this wall. That's beautiful. And even within the doodads, that's as link tight early game as you can get. 4 cannons will be operational before the links hit, and with 1 zealot in between there, it is a beautiful Sim City. I'm going to make a screenshot, and perhaps I'm going to make this the picture for this task, because I'm not going to print it over my bed. My family would mind, but for now Locutus is doing masterfully. And behind there I see another gateway, and another one, and another one, and goon range. So for the time being, Proxy has got the map, but should be careful not to lose too many units, because once these goons start rolling, we all saw and we all know by now how good the goon micro of Locutus actually is. And these Hydras, they don't even fire a single shot. Have they got any upgrades? Yes, they've got both upgrades, but their micro is just not good enough. And Proxy is out on the map with a very small army. It's only got 7.5 army supply. Locutus on 2 bases has got 20 already, and This is a beauty of SimCity, that must be said. So Proxy is not only about abusing Crazio, its straight-up play is pretty good. But although I think once Crazio sorts the war out, Locutus is going to have to fight a little bit harder to maintain a 2500 ELO rating. 2 Sunkens with a handful of Hydras, but the Hydra micro is just not good enough at all. These goons, they have free range. The Hydras don't even want to engage the goons. They are so hesitant, and that's not going to be good. Proxy, smelling fresh air, is going to take a third. Will there be upgrades? Could be, yes, we've got the +1 brewing and a lot of combat units. So Proxy is not one of these pacifists which doesn't believe in maintaining a large standing army. Army, and if at all possible goons, because the micro is just so good. So now more Sunkens are being constructed. That is good, but I doubt that Proxy can really get shake itself from the goons. The Hydras are growing in number, but without proper upgrades. I'd like to see an Evo chamber much earlier in the game plan of Proxy. And these goons, although they are only 5, they do so much damage versus the Hydras. The Hydras are just not up to snuff compared to these goons. More goons being sent over, the third base up and running, immediately protected by 2 cannons and, well, of course you're going to need a pile into warping cannons, but this is another prime example of how you build a good base setup. This is so beautifully done. It's very beautiful. So the natural is a work of art. The main is, well, the natural is very well defended, so the main doesn't really need anything. And the fourth is going to be the same game plan again, I think, because this pylon 1-2 cannons, and you're pretty much safe for any kind of stray run-bys or whatever. Proxy, though, is holding on somehow. It's bleeding an ungodly amount of units, and the Sunkens are suffering quite a bit. But Proxy is holding on and now going for a lair. Or a hive already. Wow. For a hive now must be a lair. But by now, Locutus is all over this base with a couple of goons. The Lings are doing their best, but what can Lings do? And now the last Sunken with a handful of Zerglings and Hydras are fighting pretty well. So I think that Proxy needs to make more Lings to help fight the goons. And Ling Hydra might be the answer. Unfortunately, the third base got lost. It got re-erected again, but all the workers are gone, and now Proxy's got more base of its own. And this is a very simple setup. Just Nexus, Pylon, Cannon. It costs 400 extra, but then again you're going to need the supply anyway, and this is just so much safer. You won't have to worry about defending this natural versus any small incursions. And the goons are just too good. Look at them all go. The APM spam is out of this world, but these goons, they're really laying down the law this time. And now Locutus is going to build more and more goons and gateways and goons. Upgrade wise, I think there are 2 forges. One over here, one over there, both spinning. A couple of wacky pylons out on the map. This base got torn to shreds. The natural is left standing, but Locutus demonstrating why at this point it is the #1 bot. It can beat Crazio, and versus all other players it can win in a straight up game. So Locutus, and I'm going to show you once again. It's got an ELO of 2512. That is really wicked. Congratulations. And remember, fame is not forever, but for now enjoy it. This is very, very beautiful. Congratulations, and all your watchers, thank you for watching. All the coders, thank you for all the beautiful games. Keep working at it, and I hope to see you all again next week. Goodbye.